everyone. Today we got to play Black Forest. Now, this is a game that is very similar to
Glass Road.
Glass Roads.
By the same guy.
Yeah.
So, which is so weird.
Yeah. So, well, we played Glass Roads. We learned it last year when we stopped at...
No, I guess I'd played it before, but we refreshed our memory when we went to the Capstone store.
Yeah. And we were able to play it then. And I made a comment of how much I really liked it, because I did. And Randy proceeded to find this game. So we played it. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Robert, can you tell us a little bit more about Black Forest?
Sure. So this is a 2024 game. The overall rank on Board Game Geek is 2,911. Individually rated is 7.7, which is pretty good. Designed by Tito Lorenz and Uwe Rosenberg. Art by Lucas Sigmund. Published by Fuhrland Spiel and Capstone Games, as Miranda mentioned earlier. It plays 1 to 4 people, ages 14 up, which I think is pretty accurate. It's a pretty meaty game. And it plays in about 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less. Now, it retails for $69.95, but I found it cheaper at lots of other places. Card House has it for $55.99. Amazon's got it for $60. Now, eBay's got it the cheapest at $42.34 if you can get it in time. And Geek Market's got a copy at $48.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about quality of components. You do have some wooden bits. You got some cows. You got some pigs. There are a lot of tiles. There is no linen finish on the tiles. They're just pretty standard. They have a decent thickness, though.
It's a crap ton of cardboard.
Now, I will say, you do have these two turnstiles, but mine is almost in the shape of a U. Like, literally.
They're all bowed really badly.
Woohoo! So that kind of, like, this is not even a little bad. This is like a lot bad.
It's a lot bad.
I
mean, and it had the silica gel in throughout the box, and they were still that curled, because my copy's just as bad.
Yeah, so that's sad.
Yeah, so we're going to have to try to put something on them to weigh them down to get them flatter.
Hoping that works.
Hoping that works, yeah, and then not ruining.
I'm thinking it might, I mentioned to Randy earlier before we started this, is maybe having to wet them a little bit to soften the cardboard, then put something heavy, so as it dries, it'll dry straight.
I'm just going to jump up and down on them.
Well, you're heavy enough to do it.
Well, I mean, anyway, so that makes me really sad. You do have the little glass bead things.
And it's not bowed at all. The glass bead is perfectly flat.
Yeah. I'm not going to jump up and down on those.
No, that might hurt.
So this makes me sad. There's not a lot of special things. There was a sticker application needed for the little circle.
And you had to construct the dials.
So given the bowing,
I don't know if we can really. It definitely sucks. I'm not saying that, but I don't know if it's technically their fault.
Well, it's a production issue.
Is it? It could be It could just be heavy moisture.
If your copy is the same as my copy,
I get it, but still.
If it was only one of us, I'd be like, it's Randy's luck. We get the crap again. Like that's fine.
I mean, and it's traditional. I mean, if
it's
anyone were to
yours
get a bad
too,
copy, it would be Randy.
Yeah, but if it's yours too, then that tells me something was wrong.
Yeah,
during production. So with that being said, thinking of Catan as the 5, I'm probably going to give it a 5.5. I mean, there's just a lot of cardboard. So it's a little bit better than Catan because there's that much more cardboard, even though the cool thing that it would have had is significantly bowed.
So. I'm probably going to give it a 6 just because it has a central board, and the central board is nice. It has a nice texture to it. I think the board itself is something Catan doesn't have, and it stands out above it because of that. So given the Catan's our standard 5, I think this is probably a 6.
I kind of side with Miranda. I mean, I agree that the central board is nice, and I think that's what bumps it up a little bit more than the 5 for Catan. Because everything else, it's not any nicer than what Catan's got.
Yeah.
It's about the same.
Yeah, because
wooden
You got
bits.
the wooden bits.
What?
Well, the wood-
Catan's got wooden bits.
Yeah, I mean these
It's
are
got rows
shaped.
and houses, and I mean,
Yeah, I mean these are a little more complicated shape.
yeah, and that's why I think that 5.5 is a good score.
Yeah, because
So we're
even
working over a half point.
Right. Yeah, I know, but that's
it's
just
still-
my reasoning
it's still-
for it.
No, yeah. All right, so moving on to the theme. The theme is you own an estate, and you're trying to get the building materials, but to get the building materials, you have to have provisions to travel around and build your estate. You're building different buildings on your estate. You are getting herds of animals, and also getting fields and ponds for fishing and
In a UA game?
yeah,
Never.
Farming? What?
never. So we've seen this theme before
A few times.
a few times, but I do think it's refreshing given the game mechanics involved with this. But that goes towards more game
Well, I mean, I think it's just
Game
classic Uwe, where he comes up with the design and just figures out a better way to implement it. And there'll probably be another game that'll be even better than this one with some of the base mechanics, but just even better.
Yeah.
So this is a better version of Glass Road. I mean, Glass Road's fun, but I like this one quite a bit more.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
sure, give spoilers about our scores.
I know.
All right. So
Well,
overall,
thematically, I feel it's a little pasted on. I mean, it's just like any other Uwe farming game.
but you do have glass.
That's true.
I mean, the fact that you have two tracks, one around materials,
I just
and
felt
one
like
around
thematically
provisions.
the mechanics don't fit the theme. I mean, the
no.
the artwork is kind of thematic, and I like that. And the artwork's okay; it's nothing super nice.
I think it does fit it because you're going from village to village to different tradespeople to get the things you need. So you're traveling around to build out your area and working
yeah,
within
and the fact
trading.
and the fact that you need food to travel, you need your provisions, but you also got to maintain trying to get the stuff for your estate.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it's not like crazy
It's
high, but I'll give it a 7 on theme because I'm being generous.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's about what I was
And
thinking.
I think I was too. I think I was
Okay.
around a 7.
So
I just
we're in the same ballpark then.
yeah.
All right, so moving on to the rule book. Randy doesn't know how to read.
I do not
This
read.
is the second time we played through it.
Yeah.
We
because
missed
there
a
was-
major rule.
Yeah.
well, I mean, not just one.
So,
I had to remind him of a couple rules this time.
so this is a 16-page rule book that doesn't have a cover. It's got just the
Right.
kind of a header and then an
A
introduction.
little bit about components.
Yeah, talking about the assembly, what you have to do, which
Yeah.
is putting the stickers on and building the dials. Then it goes into the component list, and they have the pictures and the numbers. The setup on this is actually pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
And once you get to learn how to play it, you're really not going to have to refer back to the rulebook a lot because the
Everything
board
is-
has the information about what your starting resources are based on player count. You've got a little cheat sheet. Now, it'd be nice if they could have printed 4 of these. I don't understand why
Yeah,
they
they
did.
could have. And the iconography is very easy to understand.
It is.
Yeah. Now, the only question, if there is questions, the book, the rule book, the rules actually only go to page 10, and then there's one page where it talks about 2-player, the variants, and the solo play.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes into the appendix, and they've got every tile, and they're 2-sided, so they have A and B, and they have everything in text telling you what it does. So there's no question about any of the buildings, the small buildings, large buildings, or the jobs. And then they even have the tradespeople, if you have any questions on those,
Okay.
but they're pretty self-explanatory. So the rulebook is really well set up to get you into this game quickly.
Right.
That said, I was somehow managed to forget one of the rules that was key to the game when we were playing the first time, which is that when you move into a territory where other people are at, or a village, I should say, for the first time, when you get there, you have to pay each person a resource.
A basic resource.
A basic
yeah.
resource.
Which made a big difference.
Yeah, it did.
It did.
So what would you score?
I'm probably going to go ahead and give this a 9 because I mean it's a fairly. I wouldn't say this is. I'd say it's a medium level game.
Right.
But
I'm medium to heavy.
I don't think it's heavy, but I think the gameplay is pretty simple once you get it going. Because you can put the rules on that.
The gameplay is, I agree. What I think what adds the meat to it is being able to anticipate managing your resources so you can get the buildings that you want to build. And I think that's where the meat of the game is. And that can be a little tough.
But learning the game and getting into it does a great job getting you in quickly.
All right, so going on to gameplay, you mentioned the rules are pretty simple, so we're going to the cheat sheet. Woohoo! All right, so the first thing that you're going to do is you can choose to spend a commodity, which is this little token.
Covered wagon.
Yeah, the little covered wagon. It is kind of a teal color. You can choose to spend it to move the merchant. Now, the merchant lets you have 2 of the same resources, but everyone else gets that same resource.
But only one of them.
But only one of them.
But you swap a tile in a different location with it.
So, for example, since I'm blue, I think I was going to come down here because I need some coal. So I'm going to move this here in case I wanted it. And move that back up there. And then my next action. So my next action is my movement. So then I spend a provision, which is one of the purple discs. Both of the purple discs are provisions, but you only have to move one of them once, or based on how many you actually pass. So the max you typically spend is 2. I don't think there's any way to do
I think
3.
you can spend up to 3. I think 3 is the most. Because you got 1.
No, there's 5 locations, 3. So
and then like some of them in the middle where you have to spend the extra one.
Oh, but you have to do the shortest route. So that is something to note. You always have to choose the shortest route.
And we double check that because you can speed the game up otherwise, which would be a cheap way of doing it.
Yeah. So anyway, so now I'm here. Now, because I chose this location, I'm going to take both of those tiles actions. So I'm going to spend 1 wood to get 4 coal. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I have 2 coal. I have 1 on each side of my resource track. I only can gain on 1 track, okay? But if I go to spend coal, I can use both of the tracks. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right.
Or if you have something that gives like coal 2 different times, you can do it on each one.
Right.
You don't have to do it all in one.
Correct. All right. So now I have a gap from like this spindle can move forward, and I have to do that. I do not have a choice. Now, the spindle stops because it's about to hit this provision. So now, instead of having the 4 coal because I had just gotten 4 coal, I actually now only have 3 because I changed my grain, meat, and coal into food and a commodity. Okay, so basically you're taking your basic resources and converting them into provisions and commodity. On the other side, it is actually you are doing your glass with water, sand, wood, and coal. So once you have each of those, you'll do the same thing. So if I went up 4 coal on this side, I would do the same thing and move this forward until it hit all of those, or until it hit my green, my glass circle. All right. The other thing to note, your brick is actually not on either one of the tracks. You just have to get brick somehow. Good luck. I always find it difficult. But you can use this while to do that. In fact, I'll do that now, because why not? All right.
So if she did 2 brick through that, we would all get 1 brick.
Yeah, so they would both get bricks. Now, that is the end of my turn. Now, as you continue on the game thing, you'll eventually end up with scrolls. So instead of doing a tile location, you can end up doing a scroll location. So, for example, if this was placed here, I could choose to do this or the 2 tiles that I have at.
Yeah, they're called jobs.
Yeah, they're called jobs, and they typically are pretty lucrative.
Yeah, but they're usually really expensive, but you get really good stuff.
So they're typically pretty lucrative. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that, yes, you're creating glass, but you need some of those things that make glass to actually build your buildings. So you use clay, glass, wood, and water. Like there's
usually
some other
water,
stuff.
and there's some other, but the main ones is wood, clay, water, and some sand.
But the nice thing about it is all the tiles are two-sided, so you don't have the same tiles every time.
Oh
You
yeah,
can
the
flip them over.
building tiles.
Yeah.
And there's 3 columns, so you have one that doesn't require any glass, you have a column that requires 1 glass, and you have one column that requires 2 glass on these 2 boards, and then you have this big fancy board
and there's extras
that always require 3 glass.
Yeah, the double-sized buildings. When you get one of those, I mean, you start out. There's a bunch of each type, and there's levels 1, 2s, and 3s, and you just based upon the distribution on the board, you pick randomly, and you end up with different combinations of those
Yeah,
too.
so it can end up pretty interesting. So with that. So overall, I actually really like this game. I'm very much love the resource management, worker placement, trying to figure out where to put my worker.
I think one element that's important to talk about is the animals. So
that's how I won.
Right, but you can get animals and you have different areas to store them, but they can only score if you get like the pins for them to keep them in. And it's all clearly laid out on the tiles.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to forget.
Yeah, so,
it reminds you of
Yeah,
that.
for example,
But
this
it's
area.
a big scoring opportunity.
Yeah, so this area it says you can hold 2 cows, but I don't get any points for them there. So I had to build me the tile that lets me do that. So
Very
that
similar to Agricola fences.
And fences.
Yeah.
But it's all about resource management and using those resources to kind of do the things that you may not know the first round, but you're going to start figuring out what direction you're going as far as how you want to score. And so it's all about utilizing those resources smartly.
Yeah.
Because like Miranda was kind of talking about, you use one, that dial adjusts, and it affects all your other resources for that rondel.
Yeah,
and that could totally screw you.
And you have to move it up.
Yeah, you have to.
You may want to have those basic resources, and like, oh crud, now I'm one shy of what I needed.
And that's where it's very similar to Glass Road. It's got the 2 different sides of the rondel and how one could affect the other. So
yeah, which I
think it's very cool.
Yeah, a very cool mechanic. So overall, I really did enjoy this game. The only problem I have is the timing it takes to get back to you because of
there could be a little bit of an AP going on.
Yeah,
so,
there's so many choices.
And there's very little interaction other than having to pay extra resources if you're in the same village.
Yeah.
And that's really not interaction, that's just an extra
There's
cost.
that, and also because of the tile swapping with that trade,
with the merchant.
you kind of have, I don't find that there's a lot of downtime because I'm strategizing what I'm going to do, and I have to keep track of the changes that other people are making to the situation.
Well,
based
I mean,
upon that.
true, but you could, like Miranda, like she does very well, walks away, and when it's not her turn, you really can walk away, and when you come back, you can just quickly look at the board and just figure out what you need to do, because it's so easy to move that merchant. If there was a little bit more, I guess, complication or a little bit more rules to how he moves around, that might make a big difference. But it's so easy to move around.
I mean, and
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes you just get caught in trying to figure out what you're going to do. Because even I caught myself thinking I had it mostly done, and then when I went to go do something, I was like, oh crap, I'm one shy.
Right.
I have to make this slight alteration.
And I think that's what adds the meat and the tension that I like so much.
Yeah.
It is, again, it's all about that resource and be able to manage those and have it where you need them to be when it's your turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Because part of me hates spending like the provisions and the trade tokens, but that's how you in the game.
And you have to do it.
Yeah.
And so for me, like I set up my little circle and I kept going around and around getting all the stuff, and I built really quickly, but like towards the end I was like, how do I spend these provisions, because I need to get that up there. But I actually ended up doing the math.
And that's how you end the game too. That's a very important part. Is the provisions.
But if you notice,
as you move the dial,
it's only 1 point. And so there's a couple times I was like, oh, I don't care because I'm going to get 3 points doing this other thing.
Right.
I don't care.
But that's how you can time the game too. If someone's constantly moving around the board and spinning those provisions, it's going to be a quicker game than if you're just trying to stay in your same little village. And so, it can make a big difference.
Yeah, it can absolutely make the difference, which is why Randy always ends the game. But I did win this time, so that's what matters. So overall score, you were second. You were real close.
Not real close, but close enough.
well, that one.
Good enough for the girls I date.
So overall, score-wise, I'm going to give this an 8. It would be higher if the downtime wasn't as bad as it was this game. And I don't know, but we played the other day and it was pretty bad too.
It was.
So.
And that was 3-player. But I didn't feel it was that much longer with the 4th player, though.
No.
No.
And I thought it would really slow it down, especially playing it the right way. I thought it would slow it down significantly. And then adding that 4th player, I thought would slow it down. But it felt like it was about the same amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like I got some more traction this game around, but then I actually had less points, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, we all scored less than we did last time.
Yeah. So, it was a very interesting, interesting kind of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. It'd probably be higher if the downtime, and it's not bad. There's games way worse.
Oh,
it's
for sure.
just, and we have certain people who like to overthink things. Because
guys, you got a nervous twitch there, man.
I literally, I was in the middle of playing Cities when Rob came, because it's the free weekend or whatever, so you can play it for free before you, whatever. And so I was playing it. I literally built a whole section of my city, came back, and Rob's like, it's my, like, Brady took the whole time, and I built a whole section. And I was like, no.
Well, the problem is I can't see what buildings are still up there. I took pictures of the buildings, and I can build this, and then
because it's really gone. Hard. It's hard for him to stand up and look.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, my legs are old.
I get it. I'm not judging.
All right, give it a score.
What would you score?
See, the downtime didn't bother me.
Right.
Because I really didn't think that there was downtime, because almost every turn somebody moved that trade guy. So that affected me tremendously on where I was going to go. Not to mention everybody's movement meant I was going to pay resources.
You cursed me a couple of times, and you were cursing Robert.
Well, that's because you built a building right before me that I was getting ready to build.
You were cursing everybody. You did the thing I wanted to do, and it's like, yeah, Randy, that's kind of the point.
So,
and that's the pitch of his voice he has too.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that I'm like nasally and stuff either, so it's priceless, guys.
Yes. So I given the fact that if I'm comparing this to Glass Road, I think Glass Road is an 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give this a 9. I like it. I like the complexity this adds to Glass Road.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think I'm a 9 as well. It would have been even better if the board didn't suck so bad.
Yeah.
Because this is just a satisfying game. It just it's fun to play, and it just feels good.
And it's not that.
And it's not that complicated.
It's not that complicated to teach.
As far as teaching and just getting those initial, plays through the basic movement and mechanics isn't that hard to learn.
Yeah.
It's that resource management and the planning, and hopefully other people not screwing you over as far as buying the buildings that you want.
Right, and just like after the game, Adam's like, I'm still thinking about what I could have done.
No.
It's one of those games you're going to think about afterwards.
I agree.
If I had done this or that, what could I have done to improve my score?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to taking this to the shop in Columbus and teaching like Juliana and Mike, because I think they'll like it a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast. This game is definitely one you need to think about checking out.
Especially if you like Ube games.
Yeah,
it's definitely one of his better ones.
Yes, especially. Well, thank you guys. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.